The Book of Daniel, Chapter 2. There is another feast celebrated by Jews known as Hanukkah, which is not directly commanded in the Torah, but which has prophetic significance relating to what is given in the Book of Daniel. Prophecy is an important concept in the Bible because it is one of the many things that makes Elohim known to the world and shows us that his word is true. Those he speaks to gave their messages to Israel and were often persecuted for it, but throughout history we saw that many of the ancient prophets were telling the truth. The Torah explains how we know if a prophet is false or true. Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 1-3. When there arises among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he shall give you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder shall come true, of which he has spoken to you, saying, Let us go after other mighty ones, which you have not known, and serve them. Do not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams. For Yehovah your Elohim is trying you in order to know whether you love Yehovah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 20-22. But the prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other mighty ones, even that prophet shall die. And when you say in your heart, how do you know the word which Yehovah has not spoken? When the prophet speaks in the name of Yehovah, and the word is not, or comes not, that is the word which Yehovah has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously. Do not be afraid of him. We can tell if a prophet is false if they speak of prophecies that a god, whether another mighty one or Yehovah, will bring, and it does not come true. If the prophet also tries to tell you to go after other mighty ones because of somewhat true prophecies, this is also a false prophet, who has been sent as a test to see if the Israelites truly love Yehovah. Thus, there are certain prophets throughout history who are disqualified from the list of true prophets by these commands, such as Joseph Smith, the so-called prophet of the Mormons, which I will explain further in Chapter 7, which, by the way, I did not write for this book, so you won't hear that. Of the many prophecies for the future he made, many failed. However, those books we find in the Bible in the section of the Tanakh, known as the Nevi'im, or prophets, there are multiple prophets that declared Yehovah's word in truth, and the events occurring after their spoken word has shown this. One such example, who is often overlooked by Jews and some Christian denominations in relation to future events, is that which is recorded in Daniel. Daniel's prophecies are the most studied and theorized about among evangelical Protestants who try to understand the end times according to what Daniel predicted. Others hold to a preterist view that the book of Daniel was entirely fulfilled in the past, even before the coming of Messiah. After much research, I have found that with the study of history in the book of Daniel in detail, that both of these interpretations are true to some extent. Some of Daniel's prophecies have been fulfilled in the past, and some have yet to come, but are affirmed by other places in Scripture that help us understand the meaning. Now that we understand the fulfillment of the Moedim, or appointed times of Yehovah, we can go into understanding the events leading up to the fulfillment of both the spring and the fall feasts. Starting in Daniel chapter 2, we read of the revealing of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Daniel chapter 2, verse 28-35. But there is an Allah in the heavens who reveals secrets, and he has made known to sovereign Nebuchadnezzar what is to be in the latter days. Your dream and the visions of your head upon your bed were these. As for you, O sovereign, on your head your thoughts came up. What is going to take place after this? And he who reveals secrets has made known to you what shall be after this. As for me, this secret has not been revealed to me, because I have more wisdom than anyone living. But for our sakes who make known the interpretation to the sovereign, and that you should know the thoughts of your heart. You, O sovereign, were looking on, and saw a great image. This great image, and its brightness excellent, was standing before you, and its form was awesome. This image's head was of fine gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its leg of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. You were looking on until a stone was cut out with hands, and it smote the image on its feet of iron and clay, and broke them in pieces. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were crushed together, and became like chaff from the summer threshing floors. And the wind took them away, so that no trace of them was found. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled all the earth. After this, Daniel interprets the vision for Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel chapter 2, verse 37-44. You, O sovereign, are a sovereign of sovereigns, for the Allah of the heavens has given you a reign, power, and strength, and preciousness, and wherever the children of men dwell, or the beasts of the field, and the birds of the heavens, he has given them into your hand, and has made you ruler over them all. You are the head of gold, and after you rises up another reign lower than yours, and another third reign of bronze that rules over all the earth. And the fourth reign is as strong as iron, because iron crushes and shatters all. So like iron that breaks in pieces, it crushes and breaks all of these. Yet as you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the rain is to be divided. But some of the strength of the iron is to be in it, because you saw the iron mixed with muddy clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the rain is partly strong and partly brittle. And as you saw iron mixed with muddy clay, they were mixing themselves with the seed of men, but they are not clinging to each other, even as iron does not mix with clay. And in the days of these sovereigns, the Allah of the heavens shall set up a rain which shall never be destroyed, nor the rain pass on to other people. It crushes and puts to an end all these rains, and it shall stand forever. The entire interpretation of Daniel's prophecy requires knowledge of historical events following the reign of Babylon, as well as the interpretations given within the book. Everything here is connected to the events happening in later chapters. Daniel already reveals what the head of gold represents, the reign of Nebuchadnezzar as the king of Babylon. Then another reign, which represents the silver arms and chests, replaces this reign of Babylon. This is Medo-Persia, the empire that captured Babylon, and set up its dominant reign as the Achaemenid Empire in about 539 BCE, according to the modern biblical dating system. Next is the third reign, represented by thighs of bronze, which is said to rule over all the earth. Keep in mind that over all the earth here in Aramaic, the language Daniel was written in, is Bekol Ra, which could also be translated as over the whole land. Earth in the Hebrew mindset rarely referred to the entire planet, but to either the land on the earth or a specific land. This third reign is identified with Greece, or the Macedonian Empire that conquers Persia in 330 BCE under Alexander the Great. The fourth reign is what rises after this, represented by the legs of iron because of its strength and because it shatters all the kingdoms before it. This could mean that it was greater than all the kingdoms that came before it, or that it conquered and or warred with the lands and successor kingdoms, or both. These legs of iron represent the reign of the Roman Empire, which conquered the leftover kingdoms of Greece, Persia, and Mesopotamia. And likewise, this empire was the strongest, at one point amassing 100 million in population and nearly 2 million square miles of land area. The next reign, that which is mixed partly of iron and clay, is a little more difficult to figure out. The iron among the clay indicates that some trace of the previous reign, the Roman Empire, still exists, but there is another presence that does not allow it to rise to its full capacity, making it partially brittle. I believe that the clay represents the smaller kingdoms the Roman Empire split into after its fall. In verse 41, it says that the separation means that the reign is divided. This reign is made weaker by the other reign, the clay, which I believe is the Germanic peoples that mixed with Roman ideals and people to create the successor kingdoms, such as the Holy Roman Empire. Most of these still exist today in some form, but will be destroyed and replaced by the coming reign of Elohim Messiah, the mountain that destroys the entire image of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. This means that all the influence of these empires, whether it's Babylonian sun worship, Persian festivals and paganism, Hellenistic philosophy, or the Roman cult of Catholicism, all of it will be destroyed at the coming of the Master.